It's been 6.5 months, which is 28 weeks or 196 days since I bought this Tahoe PPV at a state surplus auction. And during that time, I hadn't once had a chance to sit behind the wheel and drive this truck. And instead, the time I bought it, it went directly from the auction lot right to the repair shop. And that's where it sat for that entire time. That is until today. Today she's back and she's alive. My journey with this Tahoe started July 12th at the state surplus vehicle auction here in Delaware. The online auction runs about 10 days or so. Over the past 2 years of going to this surplus auction here, I've only seen 2 other Tahoe PPVs come through, so I know they're pretty slim pickings here. I looked this one over while it sat at the auction lot, and nothing on it really scared me. I did, however, like that it didn't have any holes in the roof for wires or antennas. There was no spotlight, and that it had a center console too. I saw the note on the windshield about the engine knock, so I didn't even try to start it that day. I also looked up recent sold pricings through eBay for similar condition Tahoes, and I came up with a $8,000 max for my all-in amount on this truck, including upgrades, changes to the truck, and the purchase price. From there, I worked backwards to come up with what I wanted my max bid to be, which was $2,700. I figured at that amount, it would leave me what I need to replace the engine and give me some buffer for any unexpected problems. As the auction was ending, bidding had already crept up to my maximum bid amount, but I figured I'd give it one more try and see where it goes. By the time the auction ended though, I had upped my bid $500 past my max, but I had won the truck at the same time. Now, it's definitely more than I wanted to spend, and I know these things don't turn up that often, and you know, it's something I really wanted at the same time, so I was pretty happy with my buy. It wasn't until a week later that I started the Tahoe for the first time, and it was a nice surprise to hear a tick instead of an engine knock. What'd you think? So the original plan was to yank out this engine out of the Tahoe and replace it with a remanufactured engine or a junkyard takeout. But both of those options still left me with the same issue with the displacement on demand and what to do with it. And if I just ignored it, well, I'm right back in the same situation I'm in today. So I made the decision to just keep what I have, do a DOD delete, but also replace as many parts as I can inside the engine to freshen it up some, and also upgrade the cam, upgrade the exhaust and the tune to try to hop up the engine and get a little more power out of it. So let me show you some of the junk that got yanked out of the engine. So I've got a camshaft, water pump, lifters, push rods, exhaust manifolds, head bolts, gaskets, and this guy, which is the DOD solenoid that sits underneath the intake manifold, and each 4 of these solenoids pumps high pressure oil into the DOD lifters directly into this hole here, which collapses the lifters on 4 of the cylinders, and it deactivates the valves, keeps the valves from moving up and down. The electronic system shuts off the fuel to those 4 cylinders, and that's what makes the DOD system work. Now, this is also the weak point in the whole system compared to a normal lifter, and this is the key parts that got replaced in the DOD system. And this is the best place for all these parts. goodness. And this is a pile of receipts and parts, that items that went back into that Tahoe engine. Much of it came through Texas Speed and Performance, including $300 to them for the Displacement On Demand Delete Kit, another $389 to Texas Speed and Performance for the camshaft, which has a 262 duration, and Texas Speed is claiming a 62 horsepower bump with that camshaft. Also, Texas Speed and Performance provided a bunch of other items like push rods and a beehive cam package and trunnion kits, oil pressure, gaskets, and so forth. All told, $1,225 to Texas Speed and Performance for that. Another $880 to Summit Racing for the shorty headers and the cat back system. Another $225 to Texas Speed and Performance because I had to get the PCM reprogrammed, so they turned off the Displacement On Demand feature. They also adjusted the air-fuel ratio for the cam and header upgrades. All told, Texas Speed and Performance is claiming another 20 horsepower with that change. And then it was the labor of installing the DOD system, the headers, the catback system. Also included a new water pump, gaskets, fluids, manifold sets, spark plugs, wires, seals, pulling the oil pan, flushing the engine. All told, $2,404 for that. And lastly, I saw the front tires have a lot of scrubbing on them, so I sent the truck over to get an alignment and $100 for that. All told, parts and labor, $4,834. So there are all the parts that went into this truck, but there's a lot of unique features that make a PPV Tahoe different than a civilian model. So let me show you some of those. The PPVs get a heavy-duty cooling system used on the 6-liter V8 engine. They get engine oil coolers, power steering coolers, transmission coolers, heavy-duty brakes, stiffer shocks and springs, a 160-amp alternator, a 373 Positrack rear differential, heavy-duty battery with 770 cold cranking amps, idle boost based on battery energy needs, extended life spark plugs, a lower ride height by 3 inches, 1 inch through the lower profile tires and 2 inches through the suspension, heavy-duty steel rims at 7.5 inches wide, 265/60/17 Goodyear RSA tires, 140 mile/hour certified speedometer, traction control delete, additional frame reinforcements, 5 additional grounding straps, and StabiliTrack delete. All right, so enough of all that. Let's jump in the truck, start it up, we'll go for a drive, and I'll share a little more with you. Tell you what, my first impressions in getting into this truck is that it's big. It really is. It's wide. It's 4 inches wider than, say, a Crown Vic, but it's shorter than a Crown Vic by a little more than a foot. It's low, right? The step-in height is low, but you still have to step up into the seats. It's kind of odd. The seat's wide and flat, not really supportive. It holds you in by the type of fabric that the seat's made out of. The steering is really light. I like it. It makes it really easy to maneuver, especially in a parking lot. The brakes are incredible. Super strong. The transmission, the 1-2 shift in the transmission, you don't even know it happens. It's so seamless and invisible. That's when you're light on the gas. But when you jump on it, it snaps. It snaps hard like that. The exhaust I put on, it's a Gibson exhaust. Has a really nice sound to it. I'm really pleased with that. I used shorty headers. I didn't want the long tube headers because I didn't want to mess with the mid pipes and the catalytic converter. So I went with the shorties, and I'm pleased with that. I'm okay with that. Maybe at some point I'll do the mid pipes. I don't know if I will, and do a true dual exhaust system. But right now I'm content with it. The 5.3 liter in this Tahoe, it's the standard engine in all the PPVs. 320 horsepower, obviously with the cam and the tune and the exhaust, close to the 400 or thereabouts. The power is nice. I mean, really nice. It's seamless. I'm not lacking in power. The 4-speed transmission, that just holds it back. It's the limitation on this truck. I know Chevy has a 10-speed that they made in conjunction with Ford. I bet that thing is stunning. But the 4-speed in this, that's the weak point. This Tahoe weighs 1,200 pounds more than a Crown Vic. This thing's 5,300 pounds. Now the rear gearing helps compensate for that with the 373s. State of Michigan tested this against the Crown Vic in 2008 and 2009. And these trucks stock is a half second faster than the Crown Vic 0 to 60. I'm really surprised by how sharp the steering is. It's way more accurate than I expected it to be. This generation Tahoe PPV, they all came with the same engine, 5.3 liter flex fuel V8, 320 horsepower. But really, the way this engine's been upgraded with the mild cam and tune and exhaust, that's how all of these should have been made. All these PPVs could have had an easy 400 horsepower, but for some reason Chevy cheaped out. I don't know. They also had other engines. They had a 6 liter and 6.2 liter they could have put into these. Now I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because I have no idea what this thing felt like when it was stock. But with 400 horsepower, this thing is a treat, man. This thing is so fun to drive. I love the sound. The exhaust is a delight. The power is effortless. I have to downshift sometimes. It's the transmission again. It goes back to only having a 4-speed versus a 6-speed. But this thing is so much fun to drive. So there you go, that's my Tahoe. I hope you like some of the things I've done with it. I hope you stick around for some of the plans I have for it coming up as well. And as always, thanks so much for watching.